Wow. This is gonna be a journey, but I'm ready for it. Let's do this. Hey y'all, this is Tiffany with TMI with Tiffany, and we are talking on episode 5 about things that will never happen to me until they do. And I almost didn't think I was gonna get this episode out today. Man, I don't know about you, but when you're having a rough day and you're like, I just wanted to get this done. And I have been working on it and trying to get it done, and it kind of came up to the last second and I thought, I can't let this pass. So if you're watching the video, just know that this is as put together as it gets today. But I have a lot of feelings that I feel like I need to share on this topic. And it might be out of the blue for some, and it might just be what you need to hear today. So I couldn't go without sharing it. So thank you to this light that is doing wonders for me if you're watching this video. If not, listen along, and I hope something touches your heart today. With TMI with Tiffany, I think people sometimes get the idea that it's like, oh, we're just going to talk about taboo topics. And yeah, we are going to talk about the nitty gritty, and we are going to talk about things that maybe people don't talk about, or that are uncomfortable, or that are hard to talk about. Usually that just means that the conversation is vulnerable. Like, you have to get vulnerable to have the conversation. And that's an uncomfortable, scary thing. And I do things my own way. We all cope one way or another. And one of the things that my friends and family know about me is that I love big, I love hard, and I try my best to empathize with people. Sometimes even if I have no right to. Like, I know nothing of the scenario, but that's because, oh, you never think it's gonna happen to me. Or that, that could never happen until it does. And something that affected our whole world was 9/11. And yeah, I know you're thinking 9/11 was last week. Like, why are you bringing this up? Well, today is exactly a week from 9/11. And for some of you, that might just be a day on the calendar. Like, oh, 9/11, we took a moment of silence and we moved on. And no, I don't know anyone personally that was affected by 9/11, but I've met people. And I have always been touched by their stories and their love and their hope that they hold. And so I couldn't let this week go by without spreading a little light, or really more so shining a light on not just the days, but the days before, the days itself, and the day after. And no, this isn't just going to be about 9/11. This is so much more than that. I have notes, and I have lots of dates and things that I am going to be reading off. So just bear with me if you're watching this video. That's what I'm looking at. I think every good writer has lots of notes. I'm not calling myself a good writer, but I'm just saying, hey, like, I want to get some of this stuff right. I need to. And it's a heavy topic, so I feel like sometimes I may need to read it off, because as of like right now, you get rambling because you get nervous. So I couldn't let this week go by without recognizing 9/11. This thought has been staying with me until I related with it. We recognize the day, but what about the others where it affected all that they had? Now let me take you back. This may just be me, but I love when days have a bigger purpose. I love days that stand out. I'm a big birthday acknowledging girl, I'm a big anniversary acknowledging girl, and I'm a holiday loving girl. Anyone who knows me knows that I love my birthday, and I especially love the 4th of July. Now here's the thing, when I started this out, I originally put, I'm a birthday loving girl, and I'm a birthday, an anniversary loving girl, and a holiday loving girl. But I started to change those because it's not just that I love them, but I want to give attention to these days, and I want to acknowledge them. And in the future days that I talk about, I might not love some of the days, and I'm sure some of you don't love these days that I'm going to mention, but we still need to give attention to them. We still need to honor them and acknowledge them. Speaking of the 4th of July, I have mixed feelings about it. it may be my favorite, and I love that they celebrate big on the 4th of July. I mean, you know, the US, we should. Like, it's an extremely important day. However, I sometimes get this little chip on my shoulder because I'm bothered that people go huge for the weekend of or the day, and they prep for it, and they get really excited and they go big. And then come July 5th, it's over. And all of a sudden, if you're still the 4th of July 11 girl or boy, like, you're wearing, you know, the American flag all the time, like my brother and I, people always send us stuff when it comes, like when it's red, white, and blue, or the 4th of July, or Eagles, or anything, because they know that we'll wear it, we'll rep it, we love it. And sometimes people look at us like, it's not the 4th of July. Why are you wearing an American flag? Why are you wearing a USA shirt, right? Like, it's almost like, not frowned upon, but they look at us as like, okay, that's over. Why are you doing that? And it's always kind of bothered me. And I love, believe me, I love seeing everyone rep red, white, and blue on the 4th of July. And I love everyone's attention to it and the acknowledgement of it. And I love that it's a holiday that we get to spend together and enjoy as loved ones and friends and family. And I love the big celebrations. But there's that little chip on my shoulder that I think, yeah, but come tomorrow, this will all be over. And where's the honor? Where's the respect? Where's the acknowledgement of all of this day means? And I kind of feel that way when it comes to July 5th, December 26th, January 1st, February 15th. I kind of have these moments where I'm like, no, I want it to last a little bit longer, or at least until the next one comes up. And then it hit me. There's a lot of other days throughout the year that I acknowledge and have big emotions for too. And these are just a few that have come to mind. Veterans Day. And they're not all holidays, mind you, but there are days that we remember and acknowledge. At least the ones that came to my mind. And I am a very patriotic person, so yeah, a lot of these have to do with something or another. But Veterans Day, November 11th. Remembering Pearl Harbor, December 7th. It happened in 1941. World War I was from 1914 to 1918. World War II, September 1st, 1939 to September 2nd, 1945. D-Day was June 6th, 1944. I mean, they're not even just war dates, but all of these days, I mean, I wasn't even born then. Most of them are in the history books. So why do I even like think about it? Now, some of them, yeah, are federal holidays, and some of them are state holidays. But why do I care? Why do we take that time to remember them? And why is it that once the day's gone, we just continue going on like, oh, that didn't happen? Even though literally, especially some of these dates, are the reason that we are where we are. And there's always two sides to the coin. There's always two sides to every story and to every experience. And I'm grateful that we stop and recognize all the people that not only lost their lives, but also the people that continued moving on and coping on. And that date means something entirely different to them. And I didn't recognize this as much until this week for some reason. I always pay my tribute, and I genuinely, I take time to honor and acknowledge each of these days and trying to honor them in the best way that I can. And I'm not better than anyone else. I just feel so, I don't even know the word. I just feel so drawn to recognizing and acknowledging not only the people that have suffered and gone, or that were initially affected by it, but the people that still have to deal with that. And maybe that's why 9/11, it's such a life-changing event for the entire world. It's something that's brought this back to my attention. And so you think, okay, well, it didn't happen to me, so it doesn't affect me the same way. Well, 9/11 didn't necessarily happen to me, but I remember sitting in the living room watching it. I just got off the phone with my mom, and I kind of asked her about the day, and she said, our next door neighbor called us and said, frantically, and said, watch, like turn on the TV if you're not watching it, and hung up. And my mom turned it on, and I remember sitting there watching it. And you think as a young child, I wouldn't remember, but there's significant details that I remember. And yet, because I was so young, I think I take it upon me each year to learn more. And this year I watched a video that National Geographic put about some of the survivors. And it touched me in a way that I have never experienced before. Because there's always something I can learn and honor and acknowledge as I continue to go year by year. I mean, that was 2001, it's 2023, that's 22 years ago, and yet it still impacts us so much. And I kept thinking about, what about all those other people? What about the people who are reading those names every year? Those are people that were directly affected by it, that lost loved ones. And I wonder what they're feeling. What are they thinking as this day is upon them? Like, are they dreading the week? Are they, like, the week before, are they mentally and physically and spiritually preparing for all the reminders? Are they just trying to hold their breath to get through the day? And then what about the week after? I'm going to come back to this. As I was thinking about these people, I thought, well, have I ever experienced anything like this? Are there moments besides, my birthday and anniversaries and holidays that I acknowledge, that I hold my breath if the date comes around? Yeah, there are. Here's just a few of my own. It's never going to happen until it does, right? Here's some of my memories. Hurricane Katrina. I remember being in school and they were passing out pins and they were trying to bring awareness, and we were writing letters and trying to send love to the people that were affected. And I know that there's been plenty that have happened since then, but it's every time I hear about a hurricane or tsunami, that's exactly what I think of. I go back to that little girl who was like, what can I do? This affected so many people. I remember looking at the pictures and everything coming after it. I thought this one was really interesting as I was doing my research. The Olympics were in my home state, Utah, in Salt Lake City in February 2002, the Winter Olympics. And I remember my siblings, some of my siblings got to go and see it and participate and witness it. And I kept thinking, like, why didn't we become more of a part of that, right? Why didn't we really take that advantage of that time? But now as I look back at it, it hit me. That's less than 5 months after 9/11. And the world united again in my home state to bring the world, literally the world, right, with the Olympics together and give them something to unite with and to cheer about. And I've never heard more of when our country united than after 9/11. And to think that less than 5 months later, they were doing it again in my home state, and we were bringing joy, joy was being brought to the world once again. And I hold that in my heart, and I'm like, that is so cool. And I'm just learning that, right? And then when I was in junior high, I was in class, in my 8th grade class, on March 11th, 2011. And it is when a 9.1 earthquake hit Japan. And my two oldest brothers had just gone on a trip for their master's program to Japan. And they sent us a video, and I saw videos of these buildings and the hills rolling, the roads rolling. And I remember being so frantic because while I'm sitting in my classroom, I don't even know why we were watching this, but my teacher at the time had us watch parts of the news and whatever. And I remember feeling so frantic and saying, I need to call my mom right now. I need to call my mom right now. And she was like, what? And I was like, my brothers are right there. My brothers are literally in the middle of this. Like, what? And I started panicking, right? It's never going to happen to you until it does. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And I called my mom and she said, I've heard from them. They're safe. And we talked to them later. And I was sighing relief. But then I sat there watching the videos thinking, what about all those people who weren't? Like, wow, right? Then Sandy Hook Elementary shooting tragedy happened. And sadly, we have too many to count the lives and families affected by school shootings. And the men and women that risked their lives to stop them and help them. And my family was sitting in Bear Lake together when we heard of the Sandy Hook shooting. And it wasn't until a name and a face popped up on the screen that we knew. And at first I thought, no, that couldn't be them. And it was. And I'm not going to state names, but as soon as we realized it was someone we knew and loved, and their family was being directly affected by this, it changed everything. And in the weeks and months passing, our whole city came together in honor of this sweet little girl. I'd met this sweet little girl. And now she's just gone. And that day and those events later are seared in my brain and my heart forever. And I hurt for anyone who is affected by them. And I pray there is a way to end them. We all know that COVID has affected us all. It has affected everyone on this planet, one way or another, and many lost so much. And so it's interesting. For some, we just toss it aside. We just say, oh, well, glad that's over. Well, yeah, I think some of us are. But were you affected by it? Are you still being affected by it? Was your job affected by it? Your family affected by it? How did it affect you? Think about that for a second, right? We're saying, like, oh, that'll never happen to me, until it does. Big or small, that affected you. It sure as heck affected me. It still does. And it will probably affect us for a really long time. And for those who were truly affected by it in ways that we can't comprehend, it will affect them forever. I had one that I forgot to mention, and once again in my hometown, we were struck by another tragedy, and the mayor of North Ogden, Brent Taylor, Mayor Brent Taylor, was killed in action, and he left 7 children behind and a sweet wife, and he left a city and family mourning him. And shortly after, Follow the Flag decided to put one of their flags up in the canyon in North Ogden to honor him. And I remember every day driving by it, just how grateful I am for the men and women who serve our country. And I didn't need that reminder necessarily, but I'm so grateful that I had it. Because we live in this country or in this world where war is happening all around us. And there are men and women who sacrifice everything. They leave their families to defend us, to fight for us, to give us all that we have, and I couldn't be more grateful. I watched as this family grieved and missed their dad and husband, how the city missed their mayor. And you think it's never gonna happen to me until it does, or until it could. Men and women lose their lives every day. Those wars I mentioned before, so many countless men and women, lives lost family members lost, friends lost. Just recently, in March, Nashville school shooting, Covenant Elementary School. We had just moved to Tennessee a few months before. I was sitting on my phone and I saw a notification. I was sitting in my car at work, 20 minutes away from where it happened, watching as people were scrambling to make sure their children were safe. It may not happen to you, but it may happen around you. It may happen in your hometown, and it may happen in your country. It may be happening to you. We're all affected one way or another. Our hearts are changed by it. Now, some of these or all of these are in the past. History should speak for itself, except it didn't always. Sometimes we need to speak for it. Remember it, feel it, share it. How we present ourselves now, and remember those days, big and small, makes a difference. Whether we were truly affected by close relations or personal witnesses, or just by the emotions that reside, we are all affected. When good or bad strikes a day, we always view it differently, subconsciously or consciously. Our actions and emotions are changed by it, truly affected it. Some days may not affect the whole world, or the country you live in, or the city you grew up in. But it might just one way or another. It might even be someone you know or love. 9/11 may be the best day of your life. Maybe it's your birthday. Maybe it's the day you got married. Maybe it's your child's birthday. Or maybe it's the worst day of your life, when you lost someone you love, suddenly. And you just wish you could forget. But maybe you can't. So you choose to honor it instead. All of the dates I've mentioned briefly, with thousands other like it, every day means something to someone. Every day is bittersweet. A new baby is born, a loved one dies, and everything in between that we celebrate and grieve. I think the reason why 9/11 brought all of this to my heart is because it's one of those days. "9/11 holds a lot of joy and grief for so many. It's a day that I am grateful one of my favorite people in this entire world was born. Two of them, actually, that have made some of the most biggest influence in my life. And as I sit and recognize what the day for what it is to the world, I make sure to call or text them. Up until a few years ago, I lost a friend I grew up with suddenly, and her birthday is 9/11. And this year it kind of stung a little differently. I don't know why. As I texted one of them, I texted her happy birthday, and I was so excited. And ironically, they both knew each other. We grew up together, and they were a big part of my childhood. And so I know she must be feeling it too. But in 2014, that all changed, because I can't text one of them anymore. And it made me realize, even for my small circle of people I know and love, that day holds so much joy and grief. I was literally taking her senior pictures months before she passed, talking about her future. And I think about that future every time her birthday comes around. And I think about all the men and women who lost their lives. And all the people that have to continue to cope on. Every day, there is joy and grief. How we view specific dates, how we prepare for them mentally and physically, how we handle the days themselves, how we continue to cope on, because we don't actually move on. We just continue to find ways to cope, moving forward and always having them with us. We have to find the faith to know that we will never understand and that we will never forget. We can't. These people, their lives, the memories, these moments are what we hold on to. So 9/11 may have been the date of last Monday and the event of such tragedy and heartbreak in 2001. But we will never, ever forget. We can't. I can't. For all of them, past, present, and future. I think about those people who ran in when everyone was running out. To our first responders who continue to do that every single day. You have seen it all. It is never just a day to you. Every day you see joy and grief. So I thank you and I'm grateful for you. And I know that there are so many others that are grateful for what you do every day too. Here's just a little reminder that each and every day can be a great day or a normal day for someone, while others, it could be a day that they dread all year. Some days we can't wait to celebrate. Some days we can't wait to be over. We may think, oh, that will never happen to me. Or at least not to me. Until it does. Or until you're affected by it personally. Or even emotionally. You're changed by it. I have been changed by it. We all have days and moments we hold in our hearts. We are all the same that way. So tomorrow morning, let's all try to wake up grateful for the day. Sending love to those who need it. And give ourselves grace and love because we need it too. Let's strive to give more love than judgment when we meet others. I am not perfect at it all, but I'm trying. I'm really trying. So we can only grow as we go. We truly never know what someone is going through or what this day means to them. So I am sending love to you all. Give yourself grace and love today and tomorrow and every day that comes with it. Hug those you love. Forgive those who need forgiving and forgive yourself. Find joy And just to add to it, someone I've never met before, but who brought a lot of joy to my life. She died of breast cancer one of the last few days. And she posted something today and it said, "Go grab life." She literally wrote a message to everyone who followed her. She said, "If you're reading this, that means I've died." And she wrote a long post about it. And at the end she said, "Remember to go grab life." So friends, take that reminder, whether it's a stranger or a friend, go grab life with them. Go grab life yourself. I'm sending love to you all. Until next time, thanks for being with me. Thanks for getting vulnerable and taking a little moment for some TMI. Until next time, love y'all.